everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I've talked about my journey and why I think that reading was so impactful on me. Now I want to share with you my top 5 books that I read in 2021. First up, we have the Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring. Fictional books are great because they take you somewhere else. And the Lord of the Rings in particular is so well known for that. It completely transforms you from the modern reality that we have now to some crazy, mythical, rich with history place. It's so relaxing. The way J.R.R. Tolkien wrote all of his books is just mesmerizing. I'm actually finishing up the Return of the King right now on Audible, and it's just so nice to escape into that beautifully crafted fantasy world. And that's why I love fictional books, because it doesn't always have to be about stocks or bonds or how to get out of debt. It can be just for the sake of enjoyment and entertainment and relaxation. Next up, we have Carrying the Fire by Michael Collins. This is actually a memoir. Am I saying that word right? Memoir. I'm gonna assume I am. This is actually a memoir style of book by one of the 3 original astronauts who completed the first lunar mission. Written by the man himself, Mike Collins. He flew the Apollo 11 command module, Columbia, as Buzz and Neil Armstrong touched down on the lunar surface. He was dubbed as the loneliest man in history, and he just recently passed away in April of 2021. This book is basically a first-hand account of the astronaut training that he had to go through, the Gemini program, all leading up to the moon landing. I mean, he puts you there. He literally describes outside of his window what he sees as he's approaching the moon. Like, what? If you're a space nerd like me, then I highly recommend this book. It's just really well written and poetic at times, and not too technical as to overwhelm you. Next up, we have Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It was published in 1937, but has easily stood the test of time. It is just as applicable today as it was those many years ago. Napoleon Hill lived during a volatile time, the period of the Great Depression, and he wrote this book with insights from some of the greatest industrial giants of the century. In his book, he uses a collection of stories to really drive home his 13 points of success. I will list out the 13 principles right here, but I won't go into any detail about them, because to really have them be driven home for you, you've got to read the book. Next up on the list, I have the Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley. This is the first nonfiction book that I read in 2021 that completely changed my perspective on wealth. It really drove home the point that millionaires, or people with true wealth, weren't always obvious. I think most importantly, this book taught me that it is quite possible for just an average person to obtain great wealth, and that is true for me. And the first step in doing that is to live my life more responsibly and more intentionally. Alright, the last book that I'm going to share with you today is called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Likely, it was the most important book that I read in 2021. This book can easily be applied to any aspect of life. One of the fundamental principles of the book is that the idea of an overnight success is not actually a real thing. What we actually see is a culmination of small changes over a course of time. It talks about how people often give up when the results aren't immediate. You quit because you do your first set of crunches and you don't instantly have 6-pack abs. This book stays with me, even though I read it maybe 6 months ago or so, because it's just an important reminder that progress takes time. Alright, that's just 5 of the books that I read in 2021 that truly impacted me. I actually made a full comprehensive list of all of the books that I read this past year, all 17 of them. Most of the books that I read were free on YouTube, or I read them on Audible or Scribed. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one.